Good evening, PBC family. I've got some thoughts for you tonight from the book of Daniel. In Daniel chapter 1, we meet this young man named Daniel and his friends Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And we find out how they are living in Jerusalem, but how they are ripped from their lives and taken in captivity to Babylon. And then after some time in Babylon where they are trained and go to school, they are put into service to the king of Babylon, a man named Nebuchadnezzar. Then in Daniel chapter 2, Nebuchadnezzar has a dream. And this is a disturbing dream. And so he calls his advisors and the people in his kingdom who interpret dreams for him. And he says, you need to tell me what this dream means. But it was so important to him to make sure that they got it right, that they weren't just making something up, that he said, but I'm not going to tell you what the dream is. The way I will know that you are telling me the truth of what my dream means is if you can tell me what the dream is. Well, obviously his advisors are like, well, that's just crazy. None of us could ever do that. Who could tell you that dream? Just tell us the dream. And he says no, and they go back and forth, back and forth. Finally, Nebuchadnezzar gets so angry that he says, I am going to have all of you killed. Well, Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are amongst the people in the kingdom who are scheduled to be executed because of this. But they weren't part of that group who had that initial exchange. So when Daniel and his friends find out about this, they say, hey, can you give us some time? We're going to pray to our God, and we are confident that when we pray to him and we seek him, he's going to give us this answer, and he's going to let us know not only what the dream is, but the interpretation. What happened there is that Daniel and his friends got caught up in a time of crisis. They have this crazy leader who is going to end their lives because they and no one else in the kingdom can't do what is humanly impossible. But Daniel and his friends take this moment, they take this time of crisis, and they turn it into a time of opportunity. So they begin to seek the Lord, they begin to pray, they begin to fast, and God answers them. And Daniel then goes to Nebuchadnezzar and he relays to him and says, here's your dream, here's the interpretation, but I want you to know in no uncertain terms that what I am doing is humanly impossible. This is not me. This is not anything I could do or any other human being could do. This is only because my God, the Lord of heaven and earth, has given you this answer. Well, listen to what happens next in Daniel chapter 2. Verses 46 to 49. It says, Then King Nebuchadnezzar fell prostrate before Daniel and paid him honor, and ordered that an offering and incense be presented to him. The king said to Daniel, Surely your God is the God of gods, and the Lord of kings, and a revealer of mysteries, for you were able to reveal this mystery. Then the king placed Daniel in a high position and lavished many gifts on him. He made him ruler over the entire province of Babylon and placed him in charge of his wise men. Moreover, at Daniel's request, the king appointed Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego administrators over the province of Babylon, while Daniel himself remained in the royal court. In the midst of the crisis that Daniel and his friends were swept into, they turned to God, and they sought his help, and God turned that crisis into an opportunity for them. Just look at what happened because of this. Because of Daniel and his friends doing what they did, Nebuchadnezzar had this encounter with the Lord. He came to understand the greatness of the God of Israel, and he says he is the God of gods and the Lord of kings. But in addition to this, Daniel and his friends are promoted into places of greater influence within the kingdom. They were men of integrity, men of wisdom, and they were put in these positions in this kingdom that was very ungodly. But they were able to exercise that influence for the Lord in those places. As you look at your life today, where do you see crisis, whereas God is seeing opportunity? What can you do to seek his help, his wisdom, his power, his healing, his strength for what you need today? Remember that our God is a waymaker. He is our light in the darkness. He is a God who keeps his promises, and he is the God who can light our way forward. I hope that encourages you today, church. And I want to remind you that we will be back online Sunday at 9 a.m. for our weekly service, and I hope to see you then.